Hi everyone, welcome to this Bitcoin analysis video. I try and do this every week, but I'm now doing it 2 weeks later. That is because I'll explain why. If you look at my last Bitcoin analysis video, it was done I think on the 9th of July. So make sure you watch that beforehand. I explain where Bitcoin is going. So let's start with the Bitcoin analysis. If you go to the weekly time frame, type in BTCUSD. So if you watch the last video, you'll see that I explained prices now made a higher low on the weekly time frame, which indicates that it is going up. So you see on the weekly, if I draw this trend line, it's continuously going up. You can see here it's made a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. It then made a higher high in May when it hit the all-time high, and from here people thought, okay, it's might form a double top formation, it might go all the way back down to here and retest this higher low again, but it didn't. It made a high low just here, which indicates that from making a higher low, you can see that the next candlestick was a bullish engulfing candlestick the previous week, the last week, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. So from here you would have known that, okay, Bitcoin is now bullish and it's going to break this all-time high and this weekly resistance that is here. So that is how I analyzed on the weekly time frame and on the last video. What day was it? Let's have a look. I'm sure it was the 9th of July, but make sure you watch that beforehand because I explained to you exactly what's going to happen, and it did exactly that. So the last Bitcoin video, I do it once a week, but I haven't the last week. There you go, Bitcoin is finally going to 200k. Make sure you watch this video, is done on the 7th of July. So watch that beforehand. That is where I explain when price made the high low and it's going to go up. So from here, we can analyze and see what's happening next. So on the weekly time frame, you can see Bitcoin has breached the all-time high. It has breached this resistance here. So it's now bullish, as we knew. However, as you can see, you got this bullish engulfing candlestick that week, which is great. Then you got the next week, which is last week here. You can see it's a bearish candlestick, inverted hammerhead, which indicates that price may be going down. You've got a large rejection of sellers as well. So from here, price is in the unknown, it's at all-time high. Some institutional investors, or some retail investors as well, they might have cashed in, they might have had a target profit of 120 grand. They would have bought it at £15,000, £20,000, and now they're selling it at 115. Well, this is dollars, so they would have had a target profit of 120, and they would have got rid of it. So that's why you see some of this rejection here. However, this week, you can see it's a green candlestick, so it's potentially made a higher low. What I always say, when price breaches a resistance, it can now make it act as support. What does that mean? Price was previously acting as resistance here, it was resisting to go up. Now that's breached it, price will make a high low, it'll retest the resistance, which now acts as support. It will now retest the resistance, now acts as support. You'll then have a high low formation where you can enter a buy trade, and then from here will continue to go up. So that is how I see Bitcoin playing out. And obviously you can see here my target, my long-term perspective. Bitcoin is going 170,000 pounds by the end of the year, and then it'll just go down, and that is the Bitcoin bull cycle finished for the next 4 years. So now we know Bitcoin is at all-time high. It's breached the all-time high. It's breached the resistance. So we're now expecting a pullback before it goes up higher. So if you enter in a buy trade, I'd say wait on the weekly. Long term, wait for this pullback to occur. Now let's go to a daily time frame and see what's going on onto a smaller time frame. So remember, you always mark your support and resistance levels. So this was my most recent resistance, this was my most recent support in the previous video. So you can see price has respected these levels. Look, it's gone from a resistance to a support, support to resistance, resistance to support, support to resistance. So here you can sell, here you can buy, here you can sell, here you can buy. Here you could have potentially sold, however on a weekly time frame, remember, it made a higher low and it indicates that it was going up. So selling here would have been a bad trade. Now that it's breached the resistance, it can now act as support, as I said earlier. So let's update these levels. So this is now your daily resistance. This is now your daily support. And obviously you've got your weekly resistance in the middle. I'm just waiting. I'm going to leave it here for now because I'm going to show you price will potentially retrace to this level here before going up. So I'll leave that blue resistance there for now because it's going to act as support. And if I tidy it up, I'll get rid of this and this. Then you go to a H4 time frame. So this is good if you're taking intraday trades. So if I move my yellow zone, here's your most recent support on a H4 time frame. And your most recent H4 resistance is here. There you go. So if you're trading on a H4, you can buy here. It will go up to resistance. You can sell here. It'll go down to support. You can buy here. You can see price was in a range. It will hit your stop loss. But you could have bought it here again and you're in profit. Price is expected to go to this region here. So remember, that's how you can trade your support and resistance levels. On every time frame it works the same. Of supply and demand zones. Here you can buy, here you can sell. Perfect. So now we've got your H4 support and resistance levels. We can move to an even smaller time frame, which is the H1 time frame. So just give me a second. Let's go to a H1 time frame now. So if you're analyzing today's analysis, you're always looking at a previous day's price action. So today is Tuesday. To analyze today, you would analyze yesterday's candlestick performance. So this would be, that's why I've got these breakers in here. These represent each day. So you can add that in the settings as so. So I'd analyze this price action here as so. So let's have a look here. You'd mark the high of the day to the low of the day. They would be your support and resistance levels. So here would be your resistance. Here would be your support. Just like that. So before price market opens, which is Tuesday the 22nd, when price got close to this level, I could have bought, but it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I was still asleep. What would have been another trade, you can see the change of structure, where here was your lower low, lower high, lower low. Price has changed from a lower low to a high. It's now bullish. So you could have entered on this candlestick here as well at 8 o'clock in the morning. This would have been your TP. TP1, exit the trade. That would have been TP2 if you want to keep on holding it to the H4 resistance. However, that is how you could trade Bitcoin on an intraday time frame. And obviously your support and this would be your risk to reward ratio. Risk in 568 pips to win 2,400. Risk to reward ratio 4.2. Easy as that, guys. I hope you enjoy that Bitcoin analysis. I broke it down from a weekly time frame all the way to an intraday trading opportunity, and also just letting you know Bitcoin is still bullish. We're still on our way to 166. However, if you're buying long term and you want to hodl, wait for the pullback to this region here. Wait for it to come back to 110 grand and then buy again. Like, share and subscribe. Peace.